Amina's Song by Hina Khan. 1. As I reach for a pair of silver earrings that my best friend, Sujin, might like, Zora smacks my hand away. Don't touch anything, she hisses. How am I supposed to look, then? I laugh as I rub my wrist. With your eyes, and then keep walking. Tell me what you like, and I'll go back and get a good price. What if I want to see something up close? The market is overflowing with a dizzying array of goods, rows of glittery bangles in every color imaginable, bolts of silky fabric, and mounds of beaded slippers, hair accessories, and evening bags. Eyes all screaming to be picked up, or at least photographed. I've already taken at least 50 photos and videos, and we've only been here for half an hour. Don't act interested in anything, Amina. And put your phone away. Zora's tone is firm, and she suddenly sounds more like my mother than my 16-year-old cousin. I glance at my older brother, Mustafa, who's walking a few paces behind us, like a bodyguard. He's dressed in dark jeans and a t-shirt, and his short, scruffy beard makes him look older than Zora, even though they're the same age. Do what she says. He shrugs. You don't want to get ripped off. I slip my phone back into my bag, resist inspecting the earrings, and keep moving. It took a bit of convincing to get Zora to bring us here, instead of the fancy shopping center we've already been to twice in 3 weeks. Being there made me feel like I was back at Southridge Mall in Greendale, Wisconsin, instead of where I am, Lahore, Pakistan. I've been wanting to visit Anarkali Bazaar despite Zora's warnings about pushy salespeople and pickpockets. Mustafa and I grew up hearing Mama's stories about how she'd wait for school to end and catch a rickshaw here when she was a teen. When she described sharing freshly squeezed sugarcane juice and spicy samosa plates with her girlfriends in vivid detail, I could almost taste them. My hopes of finally tasting those things in real life were crushed when Mama cautioned, "Don't eat anything off the street," as the three of us left my uncle's home with his driver, who dropped us off at the marker. Mama's worried that our American stomachs won't be able to handle anything but filtered water, home-cooked meals, and a handful of approved restaurants. That means no samosa plates from the carts we pass, no matter how incredible they smell. Imported from China. Zora clicks her tongue against her teeth as she watches me eye a sparkly clip that I can picture in my friend Emily's long blonde hair. You want things made in Pakistan, don't you? Yeah. Stuff my friends can't get in Greendale. Your friends can get anything from anywhere, Mustafa reminds me. Thanks to something called the internet. Okay, stuff they don't have, then. Mama already bought gifts for her closest family friends, Salma auntie and Hamid uncle. I picked out an outfit for their daughter, Rabia, since we have the same taste in desi clothes, nothing itchy or anti-looking. Zora links her arm with mine and navigates me through the crowds, warning me for the 17th time to watch my purse. I wouldn't be carrying a purse if I were wearing jeans, but I'm in a thin cotton shalwar kameez that's more comfortable in the fierce summer heat. My hand is gripping the bag that's stuffed with the money I collected from generous relatives excited to see me for the first time in 8 years, and I try not to bump into people. Your friends will like those. Zora points with her eyebrows toward a stall filled with colorful lacquered boxes and figurines. They're made in Kashmir. They're pretty, I agree. Go SEC, but don't say anything. Once the shopkeeper hears your English, the price will triple. I wander over and pretend to admire a shawl when I notice a green and gold box with a curved lid. Eyes shaped like a little treasure chest and would be perfect for Sujin. Then I spot some stunning jewelry in a glass case, including a silver necklace with a row of small cobalt blue stones. I try not to stare at it. Zora turns to the shopkeeper after I secretly signal what I want to her. By Sahib, she beckons in Urdu, calling the man with a mustache and thick glasses Mr. Brother to be polite. Tell me the right price for this. No ripping me off, her tone is surprisingly aggressive. Then Zora picks up a candle holder, instead of the green box. When I start to protest, she gives me a death stare. I watch in silence as they haggle in Urdu over the price of something I don't want. Mr. Brother claims excellent quality. My cousin complains it's robbery and says she isn't a fool. Then Zora suddenly drops the candle holder as if she's deeply offended by it and starts to walk away. Mustafa watches, his dark eyes amused, as Zora yanks my arm and starts to drag me off with her. Sister, see this, Mr. Brother offers when our backs are turned and we're almost in the next stall. I give you this for a good price. Zora turns around reluctantly. Don't waste our time. We're in a hurry. Come, see, very good price. Zora squeezes my arm and returns to the stall, acting like she's doing Mr. Brother a favor. He shows her some bowls and gives her a number in rupees. I have no idea how much money that is since my Urdu is especially terrible when it comes to numbers. Plus, I forget how to convert Pakistani currency into dollars. Zora shakes her head and then points toward the box I want. How about that? Can you live with it? She asks me, wrinkling her nose as if it's barely worth considering. I start to sweat. Am I supposed to say yes or no? I take a gamble and nod yes. Okay, final price. No games. Zora challenges the shopkeeper. The arguing continues until Mr. Brother finally gives Zora a number she grudgingly accepts. What color? She asks me. I point to the green box for Sujin and a turquoise one for Emily. Zora adds another bright red one to the pile. From me to you, she says. What about that necklace? Whisper to Zora. She starts to shake her head, but my brother has superhuman hearing and whips the case open and hands me the necklace before she finishes. Very nice, he says in English. Zora gives me another glare, and Mustafa starts to chuckle. I giggle too. There's no way Mr. Brother hasn't figured out we aren't from here, no matter how hard Zora tries to hide it. We've got American written all over us. Mustafa, Chair literally has the Captain America logo on it. It's very pretty, I say in my best Urdu, although I know my accent sounds pathetic. What are these stones? Lapis, Mr. Brother replies in English, beaming. Very real, very cheap. Zora tries to convince me to walk away again, but I won't budge. Can you give me your best price, please? I imitate the Urdu phrase I've heard Zora use. Mr. Brother gives me a nod of acknowledgement, but then Zora takes over, speaking for me. My face burns. How am I supposed to get better at Urdu if no one lets me practice? I can't understand everything they're saying, but it's obvious Mr. Brother has the upper hand. After he names his final price, I pull out the wad of rupees from my purse, and Zora counts some and hands them over in defeat. She won't look at me. But I take the necklace and thank the man in Urdu. And he grins like he just won the lottery. You paid way too much for that, Zora mutters as we walk away. But I love it. I rub the smooth stones of the necklace with my thumb. I'll think of you every time I wear it. You might as well have picked it up and kissed it, you were so obvious, Zora snorts. Seriously, Mustafa adds. I'm surprised you didn't offer the guy more money than he asked for. Very funny. I say, but I can't help smiling. I'm never going to get the hang of bargaining. I don't know how to pretend I don't like things or play the weird game of insulting something that I want. Plus, it seems wrong to argue with a grown-up. Zora helps me clasp the necklace around my neck and gives me a quick hug. In an instant, my fierce bargaining cousin is back to the sweet girl I've spent every minute of the last few weeks with and begun to love like an older sister. It's hard to believe we barely knew each other when I first arrived, after only exchanging occasional gifts and letters over the years. Can we go now? Mustafa asks. He's been more patient than he is when we go shopping back home. We're supposed to meet Thea soon. Don't you want to get anything? Zora twists her thick brown hair into a knot. When her hair is down, our family says we resemble each other, but I can't see it even though we share the same dark eyebrows and full lips. Mustafa shakes his head. Nah, I rook a lot of cool pics. I realize I forgot to take more after I put my phone away and make a mental note to look at Mustafa's later. I've been sending photos and video clips to Sujin, Emily, Amina's song and Rabia so they can feel like they're here with me. We start to head out of the market, and I hear a familiar song being played by one of the shopkeepers. Wait. I stop Zora. Tvi heard him before. Who is that? Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Right. What kind of music is he famous for? Baba played the Sinja's songs in his car when I was Lai, and I loved hearing the drums and clapping. At night his powerful and commanding voice would lull me to sleep. Kawal. It's traditional. Zora starts to walk again, but Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's voice stirs something inside me, and I remain standing to keep listening. What's he saying? I ask. I don't know. Can you please tell me? Zora stops walking and concentrates. Tir bin. He's saying something like my heart doesn't connect without you. Or like my heart isn't at peace without you. Tir bin, I repeat. Without you, she says. Dil is heart. I've heard a similar phrase, Dil nahi lagda, before. Mama says it sometimes. I repeat the refrain of the song in my head, so I won't forget it. Come on. Mustafa points to a fruit stall ahead of us. Let's get some pomegranate juice from that guy. No, no, no. Zora shakes her head. Your mother said no bazari food for you. But this is a drink. And it's fresh. Mustafa brushes off her protests and asks a man for thin anar juice. Everyone mixes English and Urdu here, and the man nods his understanding. The man cracks open a few pomegranates that are bursting with deep red seeds and feeds them one by one into a gigantic metal juicer that he turns with a crank. I try not to notice when he rinses the jug with tap water. Or when he pours the juice into 3 glasses that are murkier than they should be. Mustafa pays for the juices with the money in his pocket and doesn't need to ask Zora for help translating. As we sip the sweet, tart juice through the thinnest straws ever, our cousin says a prayer aloud. Ya Allah, please don't let them get diarrhea. Mustafa and I groan in disgust, and all of us crack up. My insides gurgle a little as we head to where the rickshaws are waiting, but I think it's nerves. We climb into the worn backseat of one of the 3-wheeled taxis, and Zora tells the driver where to take us. And then I brace myself for a wild ride. I haven't gotten used to everyone driving on the opposite side of the road here yet, or all the activity on the streets. Apart from rickshaws and tons of cars, I've seen motorcycles with 5 people sitting on them, rumbling trucks painted in bright flower designs, and a bus packed with so many passengers that men were actually hanging off the outside. That was a video clip I sent to my friends, and they sent back emojis of shocked faces. Today, I see the usual bicycles with riders covering their faces with scarves like bandits to keep out dust, a cart piled high with baskets of nuts pulled by a donkey, and a skinny goat that looks lost. Whoa, I yell as we speed through a roundabout, and I grab the handle as the driver swerves to miss a cyclist. He doesn't bother to honk, maybe because everyone else on the roads already is. We're also driving on the line separating lanes on the road instead of between them. When he was here, Baba joked that in Lahore traffic rules are more like suggestions. The way I feel on the roads is how I've felt in general since we arrived in this country. In some ways it's familiar and works like back home. But in other ways it's totally wild and different. The result is a mix of fun and frustrating. And no matter how much I want to fit in, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who's holding on tight for the ride, trying not to fall out, get ripped off, or end up with diarrhea. 3. Thaya John gets out of the passenger seat of his parked car as he sees us approaching. Our rickshaw drops us outside the entrance of the Wazir Khan Mosque, in front of a large brown stone gate with arches in it. My uncle's driver, Nuruddin, opens the rear door of the cat, and Mama come out wearing large framed sunglasses and a thin scarf tied at her chin. "How was the shopping trip?" Mama asks. As she hugs me, I wonder if I also have purple juice stains like the ones I spot around Mustafa's mouth and hope she doesn't notice. "So cool. Anarkali is awesome. Hina Khan, I knew you'd like it." "That's beautiful," she says, pointing to my new necklace. Mama's dressed up for the lunch party at a cousin's house she'll go to after we visit the mosque. We agreed earlier that the rest of us could head home with Thaya John instead. There won't be other kids at the lunch, and Mustafa and I need a break from non-stop parties. For the past 3 weeks, since we arrived in Lahore, we've been rotating through our relatives' homes for lunch, chai, which basically turns into a second lunch and dinner. "You're not too tired for the tour, are you, Geeta?" Thaya John asks me. Hearing the nickname my father gave me years ago sparks a pang of missing him. Although he arrived with us in Pakistan, Baba left last Saturday to return to work back home. The rest of us have another week in Lahore, which seems long and not long enough at the same time. Okay. I smile at my uncle, glad to see him out of the house in a freshly pressed shalwar kameez and vest with a topi pressing down his gray hair. He's as sharply dressed as he was when he visited Wisconsin last year, although he is thinner now. Our house felt empty when Thaya John left Greendale after staying with us for 3 months. I'd walk by the guest room expecting to see him before I remembered he was back on the other side of the world. And I couldn't believe how hard it was to see him leave, compared to how strange it had been when he first arrived. I'd felt uncomfortable around him, especially while my dad was overly focused on impressing his older brother. But that slowly changed as my uncle and I got to know each other and bonded in a way I hadn't expected. After Thaya John got sick earlier this year, my parents decided to keep our promise to visit him and finally make the trip to Pakistan this summer. This mosque was built during the time of the Emperor Shah Jahan, who also had the Taj Mahal built. Is unique in how it blends styles from different cultures, Thaya John shares as we walk through the arch. I follow Zora's lead and cover my hair with the scarf hanging around my neck. The restoration has been going on for more than 10 years. I hear Mustafa whistle in amazement as he sees the mosque buildings first. I squint into the light, holding back a gasp as I take in the majestic onion-shaped domes and mustard and terracotta walls that connect 4 minarets, each topped with bright tiles. As we walk around, Thaya John points to the designs on the walls and shows us different patterns like flowers and trees, almost like windows and frames. Eyes mesmerizing, and not like any mosque I've seen before. I wish I had a wide-angle lens on my phone as I try to frame the mosque with light glinting off the minarets, and take a few videos instead. Zora snaps photos of me posing in front of the most colorful areas, and then we take a few selfies, like some of the other tourists wandering around. Despite a few crowds and tour groups, there's a hush in the courtyard, and everyone whispers or speaks softly in this grand space. Can you imagine how gorgeous this must have been hundreds of years ago, when it was new? Mama asks. I try, noticing how the vibrant parts of the buildings that have been restored contrast with the faint lines and weathered walls in other areas. When I was growing up, we didn't come here, because the area was so overcrowded with shops that this part of the city was congested and hard to get through, she adds. Thaya John shows us the parts of the complex where there was a calligrapher's market in olden times, and we pause by the huge square wudu fountain in the center of the courtyard. A few men are seated with their sleeves rolled up, washing their arms and feet, and it suddenly occurs to me that the ancient mosque isn't a museum or monument. It's being used for prayers while the restoration continues. My thoughts drift to our mosque back home and how it was shut down for more than 6 months after someone started a fire that destroyed parts of the interior. The building next door to it, the social hall of our Islamic center, was trashed and marred with graffiti. Luckily, everyone in the community rushed to donate new furniture and art and worked together to cover up the horrible words that had been sprayed on the walls with fresh coats of light gray paint. But I still see them in my mind whenever I go into the hall, as much as I try not to. Your father said they charged the criminals who damaged your mosque, Thea John says, which means he's thinking of the same thing as me. He was visiting when the vandalism took place and was as shaken by it as the rest of us. Yes. That chapter can finally close, Mama says. My stomach twists as Mama explains that the people who attacked the mosque were a bunch of teenagers, seniors in high school from Sheboygan who were eventually caught, thanks to an anonymous tip. They were tried, Mustafa adds, and they might serve jail time. Young lives forever scarred by a foolish act. Thea John frowns. It was more than foolish, Thea John, Mustafa counters. You remember how awful it was. They were charged with a hate crime. During the trial, the vandals said they had been drinking and what started out as a stupid prank had gotten out of control. They confessed that negative things people said about Muslims in the news had riled them up and inspired the hateful words they wrote. But they claimed that the fire was an accident that wasn't supposed to happen. I heard that one of the boys cried and said he never stopped to think about how he was hurting real people, and when the judge asked him, the boy admitted that he didn't know any Muslims personally. Their sentences could include community service, counseling, and even jail time. People who do terrible things aren't always evil, Thea John says. Just misguided. May Allah have mercy on them. I nod my head. I feel sorry for the boys, but I'm also glad they were caught. For months I imagined whoever had attacked the Islamic Center living among us and was afraid of passing them on the street or at the grocery store. The thought of seeing hate in their eyes terrified me. Mustafa told me I was being paranoid, since they had no idea who I was, and vice versa. But that didn't stop me from carrying that fear around until they were caught. I hope they learn how wrong what they did was, and that they don't actually have to go to jail. Who's doing this restoration? Mama asks. I'm glad she changed the subject and want to know the answer too. A team, including the Aga Khan Foundation and the American government, Thea John says. And there's talk of making it a World Heritage Site. My heart swells to hear that people in America consider this place a historic treasure and are helping to fix it, like when so many people back home pitched in to rebuild our mosque. Sujin's church hosted our carnival and fundraiser. Emily's dad led the construction with his company. When they finished, he said the new mosque was strong enough to last for centuries. Then he joked that the supply of food in his freeze, gifts from grateful community members who cooked for his family, might last as long. Thinking of food makes me realize I'm ready for lunch, but we enter the mosque to pray. I admire the intricate tiled ceilings and imagine artisans working together to create them. As we pray, standing in lines on red carpets, I wonder how many people have stood on this very spot, over hundreds of years. It gives me chills. I finish with the wish that nothing bad ever happened to this beautiful space. Thea Jan insists that Mama rake the car to her cousin house, so when we're done with the tour, the rest of us wait for an Uber. You kids in the mood to eat lunch out? Maybe burgers or pizza? Thea John asks. It's like he read my mind again. Yes. Mustafa and I say in unison. Abu Zora scolds. What about your diet? One treat won't hurt me, Thea John insists as he winks at me. Mustafa gives Thea John a high five, and we decide on KFC, which is the most popular American restaurant in Lahore. Zora is outnumbered but doesn't seem too disappointed. No matter how delicious it is, I'm tired of eating Pakistani food twice a day and have been craving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch instead of heavy, spicy meals. I can't think of anything better than a good old American fried chicken sandwich with some fries right now. I love it here, but I could use a little taste of home. Why didn't you throw that before if you had it? Zora slaps her card on the table extra hard. I was saving it, I explain. But we could have one, Zora moans. I study the cards I have left in my hand, confused. I thought I had finally figured this game out. Let's keep going, Mustafa says. No use. I have these. Zora's older brother, Ahmed, throws down the rest of the winning cards. You girls are finished. Let's switch partners, Zora suggests. Siblings against siblings. Amina's song no fair. I protest. You and Ahmed will crush us. It's okay, Amina, Mustafa says. We got this. John's house has the perfect space for playing rung, or color, the card game our cousins taught us. There's a small area upstairs with 4 chairs slung low to the floor. And a square coffee table. Mustafa and Ahmed switch seats, so Mustafa is seated across from me now. After lunch, John went to take a nap in his air-conditioned bedroom. It's blazing hot outside at midday, especially up on the roof where Zora and I like to hang out late at night. There are a couple of charpoys up their beds woven out of thick scratchy rope that are like shallow hammocks. We lie on them, stare at the stars, and talk about everything. In those moments, I'm more connected to her than I ever thought was possible. That changes when she plays cards, though. Suddenly she's as cutthroat as when she bargains, and I'm a little scared of her. Zora deals to me, and I almost jump out of my seat with glee. I've got the ace, king, jack, and 10 of diamonds. That almost never happens. But I try to play it cool. Rung? She asks me. I'm supposed to say what suit I'm picking to be the trump card before the rest of the cards are dealt. Tact casual. I guess diamonds. ENT, Mustafa translates for her. I know what diamonds are. Zora scrunches up her face at him. She deals the rest of the cards, and I get 3 more diamonds. This is one of the best hands I could possibly have. I take a deep breath and make a bold move, playing the ace of diamonds first. Mustafa inhales sharply. Zora cackles, confident I've made a mistake. But her smirk slowly changes into a frown as round after round I drop more diamonds and force everyone to play their most valuable cards up front. I hope you know what you're doing, Mustafa cautions, wiping sweat off his brow. We gore this promise, and when Mustafa throws down the card I was hoping for, I know we won by getting all the sets and crushing our opponents in the most humiliating way. Wow. Zora seems genuinely impressed as Mustafa and I celebrate. You destroyed us. Don't worry, we'll get you back. But before we can start another round, Mama calls from downstairs. She's returned from her lunch party, and it's time for chai. John is freshly washed up, and my aunt, who we call the Yi, rolls out the tea trolley. The teapot is sitting under a thick quilted dome to keep it piping hot. It's surrounded by bowls of coarse white sugar and lumps of natural brown sugar and various cookies. Fruits and sweets arranged on plates. They says the British invented high tea, but Indians and Pakistanis perfected it. That's because our tea is rich and milky with spices in it, and our sweets are nutty, moist, and decadent. I still have those sandwiches sitting in me. Mustafa shakes his head when the Yi offers him some sliced mango. What sandwiches? Mama asks. Where did you eat? KFC. Mama and the Yi grumble their disapproval, but Mustafa and I grin at each other. Since neither of us drinks tea, the Yi makes us hot chocolate, which I drink to be polite. The milk here tastes different and feels thicker somehow. I's got a distinct scent, especially when warmed, that the chocolate doesn't fully mask. I do love the rectangular chocolate sandwich cookies, though, and pile a few on my plate, making a mental note to take a few packages with us when we go home. We won't be allowed to bring back the food I've enjoyed the most, summer-ripe mangoes that ooze sweetness. So instead I'm devouring as many as I can and trying to imprint the taste in my memory. How did it go today? Thaya John asks Ahmed. My cousin, who's in medical school, is doing a rotation at a clinic in the mornings, hanging out with us in the afternoons, and studying at night. He and Mustafa play a lot of cricket, too. While my cousin talks to Thaya John about his patients, I tune out, eat my mangoes, and watch Mustafa, who's leaning back on the sofa and reading on his phone. I haven't gotten used to seeing him with a proper beard, although there are patches on the sides of his mouth where it hasn't grown in fully. His hair is longer than it used to be too, and he either lets it go wild or slicks it back. Since he's been working out lately, he's almost too big for the furniture. But in addition to his sight, Mustafa's personality fills whatever room he's in. Everyone here loves him, and he seems more comfortable in his skin than I am in mine. I pull out my phone too and start to record the scene. Chai time. I narrate as I pan across the room. You're recording this, too? Mustafa asks. When are you going to watch all of these videos again? I don't answer but zoom in on his face, which he covers with his hand. I've got lots of clips like these that I've recorded over the past few weeks, but it doesn't feel like enough. I want to take all of our trip back home with me every moment, conversation, taste, and send even though I know I can't. Zora is chatting with Mama and the Yi about something funny on YouTube featuring the different types of annoying drivers on the road. She gets up and imitates the host and makes a joke in Urdu. While the rest of the family laughs, I smile awkwardly because I don't get the punchline. That's how it often is when we all sit around together. It becomes obvious that I don't quite fit in with my relatives, although the same blood runs through my veins. I don't share their language, their sense of humor, or their memories. When someone busts out with an expression, or a line of poetry, and everyone chimes in with a laugh or comment, I can't help but feel like an imposter, or a shapeshifter who appears to be a regular Pakistani girl on the outside but doesn't know how to act like one. As if she can read my mind, Zora translates the joke for me, which is something about catching a chicken. I appreciate her trying but wish I could understand Urdu enough to get it on my own. Plus, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in English. Why the long face, Amina? Thaya John asks me from across the room. I shake my head, unable to explain and not sure how to respond. Are you thinking of how much you'll miss us when you go home? Zora guesses. I nod yes, and though I wasn't thinking that before, suddenly I am. I want more time here, to learn Urdu and to be surrounded by people who love me so much, imposter or not. What are you going to miss the most? The Yi asks me. She's the person I've spent the least amount of time with on this trip, quiet and thoughtful, and a retired college professor always busy with charity work. I don't know how to explain that I'm going to miss the memories I haven't had a chance to make yet, with people who I want to be a constant part of my life and see more than once every 8 years. My throat tightens, and I'm afraid I'll start crying, so I quickly list the first things that I can think of. I'll miss hearing the adhan and the neighbors' roosters. And eating these mangoes. And even that annoying commercial for tissue paper that comes on TV all the time. What about me? Zora asks with a teasing grin. I'll miss beating you in Rung, I reply. And then I quickly take a sip of my hot chocolate and hide my face in the cup, before tears start falling. Because I'm going to miss her more than I want to think about right now. 5-0. That smells so good. I inhale deeply. Rat ki rain, Zora says from the charpoy she sprawled across on the rooftop terrace. I's called Queen of the Night, since it blooms after dark. Even 2 stories above the garden, the fragrance fills the air around us. I's late, after 10 o'clock, and everything is quieting down for the night. I hear less honking in the distance, and fewer lights interfere with the stars. One of the stray cats that Zora feeds is curled up on the roof near the leg of my charpoy, asleep, but I'm not sleepy at all. Zora and I are settling in for our nightly chat. I love the scent. I want to plant some in Greendale. But I wonder if it would survive in the winter, I say. Doubt it. It likes hot weather. I wonder if I would survive your winter, but I want to see the snow, Zora replies. She drops the shells of the pistachios she's eating into a metal bowl. You should come visit us in the winter. I sit up at the idea of Zora in my hometown and the chance to show her what our lives are like in America. I could introduce her to Rabia, Sujin, and Emily, who I know will adore her. And Zora would love checking out the museums and the mall and all the Christmas decorations and lights. Maybe. I don't know. Zora sounds surprisingly uninterested. You and Ahmed should come together, I press. Isn't he almost 20? You're old enough to travel alone. He has his second year of medical school starting in September, and I have school too. I don't think we can. You have winter break, don't you? Yes. Zora pauses. But we won't get American visas. It took Abu years to get his. And your government is even more strict about letting young people into the country. Why? Zora hands me the bowl of nuts, but I wave it away. Because they think we won't leave. That we say we're coming for a visit, but it's a trick so we can stay forever. Zora grumbles and shakes her head. But not everyone wants to live in America. I know I don't. Zora's last few words cut through the warm night air. What's wrong with living in America? I like my life here, Zora continues. I want to be close to the family. I want to work for my country and do something to help people here. And I don't want to be in a place where I'm not wanted. Heat rises to my face as she utters the last sentence. She's talking about my country, the one that's a part of me and made me who I am. I stay silent and stare at the sky, trying to make out constellations as I think about how to respond. You're not wanted in America, I finally say in a small voice that sounds less confident than I want. I listen to the news, Amina, Zora scoffs. Remember what happened to your own mosque. And the things those kids wrote on the walls. But stuff like that isn't happening all the time. I argue even as the words go home flash through my mind. Zora doesn't respond, but I can sense her disbelief. Most Americans are nice and good, I continue. Everyone helped repair the mosque. My friend Sujin's church held our carnival and everything. They wouldn't have needed to if it wasn't destroyed in the first place. I gulp. That's true too. But I know Zora is wrong. I just don't know how to make her see it. My cousin is fierce and loving, and loyal and generous. But when she speaks like I'm a silly little kid and she's an authority, it's like we're back at the market. I'm supposed to stay quiet and not have opinions. You know, I was afraid to come here, I say after a moment. What? To Pakistan. I was afraid to come. You're only saying that now, because of what I said. As she dismisses my thoughts, Zora turns her body so her back is toward me. It's a slight movement, but suddenly the distance between us is as wide as the ocean that usually separates us. No. It's true. I heard scary things about terrorism and explosions and stuff, and I was afraid something bad would happen to us while we were here. Zora snorts. The cat stirs, stretches, and then curls herself back into a ball. I'm just saying that you can't always think everything is what you hear on the news, I continue, realizing Baba said something similar to me a few months ago. When my father sensed that I wasn't excited about visiting Pakistan, he urged me to talk about why. I finally confessed my fears to him one night, and he gave me a lecture about being rational and not letting my fears limit me. What are you supposed to believe, then? Zora asks. Baba told me there's a lot beyond headlines we read, and so much I don't know about this country. He pointed out that people mostly hear and remember bad news. True. I've never heard a news story about people in Pakistan sitting around drinking chai and making jokes. And I was surprised to see how happy the people who live in Pakistan are and how their lives are as full as mine. In some ways, with all of the family around and the constant commotion, they might seem a little fuller. There's good and bad everywhere, I finally say. That's what Baba says. My Abu says that too, Zora agrees. I guess they are brothers. Our fathers live on different continents and only see each other after years, but in some ways they are strikingly similar. And in other ways, total opposites. Like Zora and me, too. Can you sing something for me? Zora surprises me with the question after a moment of us being quiet in our own thoughts. What? I heard you singing in the shower. What was it? Nothing. As my cheeks heat up again, I'm relieved it's dark enough so Zora can't see. Earlier I was belting out lyrics to the Stevie Wonder song I'd been learning to play on the piano before we left home. I was certain the thick walls of Thiajan's house and running water were loud enough to drown me out. I've never heard you sing properly. Zora sits up. Maybe later, I say, stalling. I can't remember all the words. Come on, sing me something, Zora presses. How about Taylor Swift? How about someone else? But she's so talented. Why do you listen to such PD music, Amina? This isn't the first time Zora has complained about my old lady music. I listen to everything, I insist. I can't explain my love for classic soul and Motown to my cousin. She doesn't like the older artists who sing about things with so much passion and depth in their voices that it makes me feel more alive. Like Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, and Al Green. Zora pulls up Taylor Swift on YouTube and starts to sing along with her off-key. I chime in, to prove I can enjoy it too. We sing together, and start to laugh. The gulf between us is gone. We scroll through a bunch of other videos and sing to them until we're tired and thirsty. It reminds me of hanging out with Rabia back home and her pushing me to record myself singing and post it online. I want you to visit us and meet my friends, I say as Zora starts to gather her things. And to have a big snowball fight and go cross-country skiing and drink real hot chocolate. What's real hot chocolate? Zora reminds me that I've been drinking Faye's version for weeks. I mean hot chocolate with marshmallows. You don't put marshmallows in yours, I quickly add as I pet the cat, who is now rubbing against the leg of the charpoy. Marshmallows? Zora asks. They're fluffy clouds of sugar, like little pillows. I know what marshmallows are, Zora says, laughing. I just didn't know you put them in chocolate. It's the best. I explain how they melt into a layer of gooey goodness, and Zora seems a little more interested. Maybe one day I'll come to America, she says as we walk back into the house arm in arm. But just for a visit. I hope she will. And if she does, I know she'll end up loving it as much as I love being here. 6. It's never going to fit. Mama shakes her head at the heap of things on the floor that we have to squeeze into our suitcases. Take one of ours, the Yi suggests. We have extras, thank you. But then we'll have to pay for excess bag gauge. Mama frowns. Why don't you trade that smaller suitcase for a bigger one I have? The Yi offers. The smaller suitcase is mine, and I've already shoved everything I could inside it, including gifts and snacks that Zora and Ahmed kept adding. One thing I didn't have to pack is the set of silver bangles that Zora gave me last year. For weeks I'd admired the ones that jingle lightly on her wrist. She surprised me by taking off half and slipping them onto mine. Okay, let's swap out the bags, Mama sighs. Amina, can you get Mustafa to put yours up on the bed? My back is sore. I can do it, I volunteer. I hoist the suitcase onto the bed, unzip it, and, as I start to empty it, see another gift inside, carefully wrapped up in a shawl. It's a Quran that Thaya John gave me, the one he read from when he was a boy. Its burgundy cover is worn around the edges, and the pages are super thin, almost like rice paper. I refused to take it at first, saying it belonged with him or his children instead of me. But Thaya John insisted that he wanted me to have it. He said he was proud of how far I'd come in my study of the Quran since he visited. I practiced reading with him most mornings on this trip, like I did when I was preparing for the recitation competition last year, and never got tired. Ever since Thaya John first led prayers in our house in Greendale, and I discovered how beautiful his voice is, I've wanted to be able to recite Quran as well as him. I listen to famous qari'is with my headphones and try to mimic their inflections and elongations of words when I'm alone. It's helping me memorize new surahs and cement in my mind the ones I used to forget. Sister Naima at Sunday school compliments me more than ever, but I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. Plus, the next time there's a Quran competition, I'll be ready. Tucked next to the Quran is a stack of postcards of the Wazir Khan Mosque. Mama bought them for me to put in little frames and hang in my room. My favorite is the close-up shot of tiled calligraphy in blue and white. Thinking of my bedroom makes it real. We're leaving tonight, at 3 a.m. Like a punch in the gut, it hits me that in a few hours I will say goodbye to my family to get on a long, cramped plane ride across the world. Now that the day has arrived, I'm not ready to go. I begged Mama to extend our trip yesterday. But Baba is waiting for us at home, and I start school in a week. Like Mama said, we have no choice but to leave. I texted Sujin and Emily this morning, which made me feel a little better. I'm leaving today. Sad to go. Sujin, I can't wait to see you. It feels like forever. Emily, me too. See you soon. We all gather later than usual to eat the special dinner the Yi planned for us. It's a mix of so many dishes, I don't know where to start. But tonight I'm hungry for them all, since I don't know when I'll taste these foods again. Mustafa's plate is piled extra high too. Thaya John doesn't eat much but smiles at me tenderly and fills up my water glass. You will write to me, Gita? He asks. Of course, I say. Or we can just FaceTime. That makes him chuckle. That too. When will you visit us again, Thaya John? I've been thinking about it every day but haven't been able to bring myself to ask him. Thaya John shakes his head slightly. Allah knows best. I'd love to come, but I need to get stronger. Pray for me. I nod. That wasn't the answer I was hoping for. But I want to see you again. I squash a chickpea on my plate with a piece of roti. You will, inshallah, Thaya John says. I'm so happy that you enjoyed your trip here, and that you've made such a strong connection with everyone. I nod again. My throat feels like I swallowed a balloon, and I can't speak. This is your home too, and you are always welcome here. And in the meantime, I want you to do something for me, Thaya John says. I expect him to say something about reading a little bit from his Quran each day. He already said that earlier, and I promised to try. He probably forgot we already discussed it, like he does sometimes. I want you to show people in America the beauty of Pakistan. They don't know this place like you do now. What? How in the world am I supposed to do that? Mustafa is sitting on the other side of Thaya John, and he speaks up. We're going to teach our friends back home how to play rung, he volunteers. We decided that Rabia and her older brother, Yusuf, would make Greer opponent. You can use the practice, Ahmed teases. What about cricket? The Yi asks. Mustafa has a cricket bat in his luggage, which meant giving away half the clothes he brought with him to make room for it. He and Ahmed were playing in the yard this evening after the sun went down, and they tried unsuccessfully to get Zora and me to join them. All of those are good things. Thaya John sits back, and I think he's satisfied with our plan. But then he asks me again directly, "You will, Amina?" "I will," I promise him, hoping I can keep my word. I gulp down some water and finish what's on my plate. When we're done with dessert, it's almost 11 p.m., and all we have left to do is load up the cars and say our farewells. Ahmed is taking us to the airport with a cousin of Mama's in a second car because of the luggage. We gather in front of the house, and as we stand around, I take deep breaths of the rat ki rani, which seems extra fragrant tonight. "Thank you for everything," I start to say to the Yi, but she cuts me off with a cluck of her tongue. "Nothing to thank us for," she says, enveloping me in a hug. "I'll miss you," I say to Zora before she grabs me and squeezes me tight. We both tear up and start to giggle at the same time. "You better." She smiles. "Don't forget us when you get back to your friends and your life in America." "I won't." Thaya John is last, and I almost can't bear to say goodbye to him. I walk over to him and stand there awkwardly, and he reaches out and pats my cheek. And then he opens up his arms slightly, and I dive in for a hug. Neither of us says anything, and after a while he kisses my forehead and lets go. Ahmed opens up the car door and says we should get going, so I quickly crawl into the backseat of the car before I start to seriously cry. Mustafa gets in next to me, and Mama squeezes in on his other side. I'm surprised when Mustafa puts his arm around me, and I rest my head on his shoulder and let a few tears fall. He's sad to be leaving too. We all are. "Let's go, please," Mama says to Nuruddin, who backs the car out of the driveway and through the gate. Thaya John, the Yi, and Zora are like statues, their arms raised in farewell, until the big green gate closes behind us. I'm strapped in my seat next to Mustafa for our second flight, from Paris to Chicago. My headphones are on so I can start a movie immediately after the safety announcements. But first I have to sit through a video of smiling flight attendants doing a choreographed dance while they fasten and unfasten seatbelts and sashay along the illuminated path to the exits while I hear instructions in English and French. Finally, it's over, and I can scroll through the film choices. Mustafa selects a superhero movie on his screen. "That one again?" I ask. "You've seen it a million times." "Yup." Mustafa slips his headphones on and tunes me out as his movie begins. As I watch him, I wonder if the closeness we shared on the trip will last after we get home. Although I spent most of my time with Zora, Mustafa and I bonded in a way we haven't in a while. He could simply make eye contact, and I'd know exactly what he was thinking. We shared inside jokes and whispered about things we didn't understand. It felt like he was watching out for me, and he paid more attention to me than he usually does at home. Even though I'm sitting next to him, I kind of miss him already. "What?" Mustafa turns to me because I'm still staring at him. "Nothing." I'm surprised to see one of the movie choices is an old Indian film called Amar Akbar Anthony. Zora turned it on one night after we couldn't agree on anything else to watch and said it was her father's favorite. She tried to explain its totally unbelievable plot. Like how three brothers who were adopted by three different families, one Muslim, one Hindu, and one Christian, could discover each other as Hina Khan grown-ups and team up to save a woman who gets kidnapped. In the end, I liked it, and the songs got stuck in my head for days afterward. I turn it on to listen to the music and watch the dancing and funny parts again. "Watch your elbows, please." A flight attendant roll a cart down the aisle with what I guess is supposed to be lunch. Mixed with someone's perfume and the stale airplane air, the smell makes my stomach lurch. "Chicken or pasta?" the flight attendant, her face bright with makeup and false lashes, asks me. "No, thank you." "You sure, hon?" "Yes." I'm not hungry after devouring 2 croissants and a thick hot chocolate at the airport in Paris. Why don't you take the tray? She insists. Before I can refuse, she slaps a tray down on my table. It's got a roll, carrot salad, and some kind of sponge cake on it. I nibble on the bread and a soft cheese wedge and watch my movie, marveling over the fact that I actually picked an Indian movie over all the American choices. Ding! The seatbelt light goes on and the movie pauses while the captain warns us about turbulence ahead. Mustafa''s watching a fighting scene and is unfazed. But I clutch his arm as the plane bounces enough for me to make sure my belt is tight around my waist. Eyes okay. Mom appears over at me from the other side of Mustafa. Just a few bumps. I say a prayer anyway and, when the movie ends, put on music to relax. For the next couple of hours I'm lost in the sounds of a playlist I named Through the Decades. It's got my favorite songs from the 60s through the 90s, including Motown classics, soul, and R&B. I listen to it on shuffle and never get tired of it. I think about what Zora said about my listening to old lady music. My friend Rabia says the same thing. It's partly my music teacher Miss Holly's fault for getting me hooked on it last year when she was trying to get me to sing for our winter recital. Miss Holly also gave me blank sheet music and encouraged me to compose original songs on the piano. I played around with melodies but never thought anything was worth writing down. I also hadn't thought of adding lyrics before. But ever since the night I sang on the roof with Zora, words to my own song fragments and phrases have been dancing through the back of my mind. Eyes a jumble inspired by artists I admire and by all the emotion swirling inside me. Watching regular people sing famous artists' songs on YouTube is cool, especially when they cover someone else's song well. But I's entirely different to sing your own song, the one that comes from your heart. I haven't been able to get my melodies or my lyrics to work, though, and don't know if I'll ever be able to make a listener feel what I do. You have to put your seat up. Mustafa jostles me. We're landing. I yank up my seat and check my seat belt as the plane makes its descent. I'm always extra tense until I hear the whine of the plane's wheels coming down. Then I hold my breath and wait for the plane to touch down. You okay? Mustafa pokes me. You're not going to throw up, are you? No. Want some gum? Yeah. Mustafa hands me a piece and pops some in his mouth. I's weird to be going home, he says. I know. I can't believe we start school in a week. The trip flew by. It didn't seem like a whole month. I miss everyone already, I say, fumbling with the buckle on my seatbelt. Me too. I's not much of a conversation, but enough to make me wonder if Mustafa is as mixed up as I am, as we travel not only through time zones but also from one part of our lives to another. The plane lands with a few bumps, and as we race along the runway, the forces of the plane's momentum and the brakes oppose each other. My insides go in one direction while my body careens forward, and I grasp the seat as we start to slow down. We made it. Mama looks as exhausted as I feel as we file off the plane and get into a line marked U.S. citizens. Half the plane goes into the visitors' line. When the man in a blue uniform and a bored expression finally calls us up to the desk, I hold my breath. He studies the photo in my passport and then stars at me. I don't smile, since I'm not smiling in my passport photo either. They told me not to when we got them taken, but Mustafa says that makes it look like a mug shot. The man turns to Mustafa next, glancing back and forth at him and then at his passport. In his photo, Mustafa is a boy, not the gigantic bearded guy standing here now. Finally, the man stamps all of our passports and winks at me as he hands them back to Mama. Welcome home, he says. Good to have you back. His simple words make the smile that's missing in my photo appear on my face. Suddenly it is good to be back, to be home. His simple words make the smile that's missing in my photo appear on my face. Suddenly it is good to be back, to be home. I'm wide awake although it's the middle of the night. I try to resist looking at the clock again, 3:56 a.m. Last time I checked, it was 3:49 a.m. If this is jet lag, it isn't fun. Yesterday, when we finally collected our luggage and passed through customs, we found Baba waiting outside the international arrivals gate at Chicago O'Hare Airport. It reminded me of waiting in the same spot for Thaya John when he came to visit us, almost a year ago. I spotted Baba first when the doors opened. His face lit up and he rushed toward us, and soon I was crushed in a big group hug. It felt great, until I remembered that we had to get into the minivan and drive for another hour and a half to get home. Baba wanted to talk, but I was too exhausted to say much. Mama filled him in on the last couple of days of our trip while Mustafa dozed, and I stared out the window. The highway seemed empty after the streets of Lahore, and it was so quiet it was almost eerie. There was no honking or the hum of motorcycles or the music that seemed to fill the streets. Had there been actual music, or was I hearing it in my head? Our house seemed smaller when we walked in, and it smelled different than I remembered it. I left my shoes by the front door and noticed how tidy Baba had kept everything. No one was very hungry for the dinner he heated for us, but he said we should try to eat since it was dinner time. I forced myself to take a few bites. Then I took a quick shower and got into my pajamas. Baba told me to stay up a little later when I said goodnight, insisting that I shouldn't go to sleep too early or my jet lag would be worse. But all I wanted was to lie down flat and close my eyes. Now I'm awake while I'm supposed to be asleep, staring at the plastic glow-in-the-dark stars on my ceiling and wishing I had listened to him. Is this the same time that I would be under the real stars back in Lahore, chatting with Zohra on the roof, lying on our charpoys? I start to calculate. 4 a.m. here means 2 p.m. in Pakistan. Zohra's probably getting dried fruit from the kitchen like she would when she craves something sweet after lunch. I wonder if that's what she's doing now and realize that I have no idea what my cousin's regular life is like. For the past month she was focused on entertaining me. We went from party to meet relatives, to restaurants and shops, and to sites like the mosques, gardens, and the Lahore Fort. We played cards and watched movies and talked all night. What's she doing now that we're gone, and her life is supposed to go back to normal too? I grabbed my phone and flipped through the photos and vidcasts in the shared album from our trip that Mustafa created. Zohra and I took a ton of silly shots, and I'm surprised he didn't delete our worst selfie fails. I scroll through the image of the Wazir Khan Mosque and study the ones Mustafa took in Anarkali. There's one of Zohra talking to Mr. Brother that makes me smile. It seems so long ago, although barky a week has passed since that day. But even though there are 800s of photos and dozens of videos, they don't begin to capture all the memories of our trip. Next I rummage through my desk for an old spiral notebook with only a couple of used pages. I scribble the word private across the front with a marker and tear out the old notes. Eyes as good as new. I find a scented purple pen and start to write about my trip, random thoughts and memories that I can maybe turn into lyrics later. I include phrases in Urdu like "ye ha," which means this is, that Zohra used to say all the time, and new words I learned and don't want to forget. My stomach rumbles and my head begins to hurt, so I'll put the notebook away and head downstairs to find something to eat. The lights are on in the kitchen, and Mustafa is already in there, sitting with a big bowl of cereal and reading on his phone. Can't sleep either? He asks me. I've never been so awake in my life. Mustafa grimaces. Want some cereal? Milk in America is the greatest thing ever. He pushes the gallon jug toward me. You sound like a Wisconsin dairy ad. They'd be so proud. I'm serious. And this cereal is amazing. I get a bowl and pour myself some of the cereal with almonds and dried berries and add milk. Mustafa's rire. There's something extra comforting and delicious about the cool milk and crispy flakes. We crunch in silence for a while. Mustafa's amused by something on his phone and starts to type. It's like I'm not there anymore. I wonder what Zohra is doing, I say. Why don't you ask her? Mustafa says, still looking at his phone. Video chat her. Right now? Why not? I try to imagine it. What if we have nothing to say to each other? What if it isn't the same with all this distance between us? Mustafa gets up and puts his bowl in the dishwasher. I've already been texting with Ahmed for the past hour, he says. They're at home chilling. I'm going to try to sleep. You good? Yeah. I get Mama's iPad from the family room, where she charges it, take a deep breath, and try to connect with Zora. It rings and says unavailable. I try again, remembering that she isn't always close to a phone. On the third try it connects, but instead of Zora, Thaya-John's bearded face fills the screen. Amina, assalamu alaikum. Walaikum assalam, I reply. Thaya-John looks older than he does in real life, like the camera added 10 years. I can tell he's sitting in his favorite chair in the family room and guess that he recently finished saying his prayers and is reading Quran. I wish I were sitting next to him. You made it home safely, alhamdulillah. How was the journey? Long. What time is it there? Like 4:30 in the morning. Jet-lagged, I see. It will take some days to get back to your schedule. Zora squeezes into the screen next to her father and smiles. Amina, I miss you. I miss you, too. What are you guys doing? We're not guys, Zora laughs, and I remember I told her about how my parents always say that to us since guy means cow in Urdu. She takes the phone so it's all her face filling the screen now. Her eyes are clear despite the grainy video. Right. Eyes too quiet here without you. The house is so empty. Abu and I are sitting here being sad. Really? The thought of them missing us makes me happier. And I have to get ready for school, and I'm not ready at all to go study. Zora mentioning school reminds me that I'm starting 7th grade in a week and haven't done anything to prepare. Mama said we'll go back to school shopping in the next couple of days, but I can't even begin to process that. Plus, my summer math packet sits unfinished in my backpack. I have at least 5 pages left. Did anything break in your luggage? Zora asks. When are you going to give your friends their gifts? I didn't open my bag yet. I hope not. I let out an enormous yawn. You should sleep, Zora says. After far prayer. I hear Thaya-John's voice. Okay. But call me tomorrow. Zora puts her head next to her father's so I can see them both again. They wave to me while Zora blows me kisses. I'll try. Kuda Hafiz, I say, and then I press the end button and sit for a moment with the tablet. My family in Pakistan is still there, even if I'm here. I think back to our last night on the roof, when Zora grabbed my hand and asked, You're not going to forget me when you go back to America, are you? One told her she was being silly and promised I wouldn't. And then I tried to say the refrain from Tir Bin, but it came out wrong, and I ended up saying something about burning lentils. We both laughed until we cried. I don't want them to forget me, terrible Urdu and all. I'm going to find a way to make sure that they, and Pakistan, stay a big part of my life. And I have to make sure others understand what an amazing place it is, like I promised my uncle I would.